Hey everybody, this is Michelle.
And this is Julie.
Welcome to a Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mike podcast. What is our podcast all about, you ask?
Well, we're two 50-something women with life experience and, plenty to say.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now. Hey, Jules. Have you ever had somebody pay for your latte at Starbucks? You know how when you're in line and the person in front of you pays for you, but you don't know till you get up because you're going to pay for your own, and they're like, oh, the car in front of you. Has that ever happened to you?
That has happened to me. And I've done that for other people because I don't want to break the chain.
I know. Yeah, I've never had that.
Really?
I've done it. I have done it, but I've never.
Like you started the chain.
Like I started the chain. I did it for somebody behind me.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I'm asking that question because of what we're going to talk about today.
Well, there are so many ways to pay things forward, but that's the one that probably everybody knows and is the most common because it seems like it happens quite often.
Yeah.
Which makes me chuckle a tiny bit because paying it forward is a really nice gesture to do for people, but we're talking like a $7 latte.
I know, but I can say for myself that if somebody did do that for me, it's just like such a thoughtful thing.
I know.
It would make me just feel good inside.
Well, I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
And actually, when you think about the concept of paying it forward, it's really about helping somebody else or having someone else have the ability to brighten their day just by a little gesture that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a little gesture. It could be a big gesture. I mean, I've seen different things in doing this research where people have done, like there's one example that I can think of was a group of seniors that would go out for breakfast. Like every week they would get together and maybe go for a walk or something, and then they would have breakfast. And at Christmas time, they would choose a different restaurant every time to get together, and they would collectively each leave $100 for a tip for the person who was there.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
And they would end up, maybe finding the person who really needed it.
Yeah.
Whether it be for Christmas gifts or for paying rent or whatever, but for however they knew this, I don't know, but they would do this during the holidays.
Love that.
I just thought it was so sweet when I read about that story because it's such a nice way for them to be able to not only give back in their community, but to help someone out who probably was in real need. And we're not talking like $100. I mean, there's like 10 people there. So we're talking $10,000. We're talking $1,000, which, at any
like
time
collectively,
of the year.
I thought you meant collectively they would get up to $10 each.
Yeah.
And they would leave her
$1,000.
So they would each leave $100.
$100.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
It's not like they did it all year long.
No, but still, wow.
That happened to me one time way back in the day when I waited tables. I was 21 and I worked at a sports bar down by at the time it was the Kingdom. And I had a table that was these guys, Canadian guys that came in after a game. I think I might have mentioned this at one point. Anyway, next to them was this other guy and his two buddies, and all of them are partying it up and having a great time, and I'm helping all of them. Well, the bar is super, super crowded and very narrow and long, and they were at the very last table. Long and the short of it is the Canadian guys dined and dashed and left this bill that was like, I don't know, over $100, easily over $100. And the guys that were sitting at the table next to them saw what happened. And I was going to have to cover that out of my earnings. I mean, that wasn't something that my boss was going to say, sorry, you're off the hook. You don't have to pay it. I was going to have to cover it. So I was 21. I was super upset, living paycheck to paycheck, the whole bit. And these guys left me a tip that was in the amount of, or approximately the amount of the bill that the Dine and Dashers did.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool pay it forward. I did date the guy for a while. Just a little while.
So you got a little payback?
I got a little payback too. He was a little older than me, so that's maybe why he had the means. I don't know, but it's funny how I remember that story so vividly all these years later because it was such a kind thing Maybe he had an ulterior motive. I
Right.
don't know, but it was a really kind thing, for him to do.
Anything like that. It's just it's a really selfless type of act,
Mhm.
you know.
So the whole concept of paying it forward has been around for a long time, but not necessarily discussed in that capacity. There was a movie, I don't know if you saw it. It was out, I believe it came out in 2000, called Paying It
Was it
Forward.
that long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie. I did see it, but probably that long ago.
Yeah.
I
Well,
haven't
it had
watched it again.
Kevin Spacey in it, and I believe Helen Hunt, and then Haley Joel Osment was the little boy
Mhm.
who was in school, and his project in school was to find a way to make the world a better place. And so this whole concept of pay it forward was the theme of this movie.
Yeah.
And I just, first of all, teaching a child that is pretty cool
Yeah.
because they're doing something for someone else without having expectations of receiving, which we know kids, a lot of the time they're always like, what's in it for me?
What's
They're
in
in
it
a
for
very
me?
selfish place in their lives when they're little. But if you dial back to the late 1700s, when I was doing my research, Benjamin Franklin had done exactly the same thing. There's actually a letter that is on the internet that's
Mm.
posted, and this letter was to a gentleman named Benjamin Webb, who was in some kind of financial dire straits. It doesn't really stipulate what that is, but uh, Benjamin Franklin writes this letter to this guy and says, I would like to loan you this money. And he used the word loan in there, but he said, "But I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to take this opportunity when you're able to help somebody else." So the same kind of concept. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he had money or had the means to be able to help another individual. But this is like in the 1700s. I
Mhm.
just thought it was kind of cool to read that this was something that was happening even back then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I think since that movie, I mean, really, these are things that as humans and, having a kind heart and do unto others as you would have them do unto you, all of
Mhm.
those things. I think it's all been in play for a really long time. But since this movie, that's kind of where that tagline came from.
Yeah.
And so it put this whole concept into a different context, if you will,
Well, I think
you
it
know?
gives people the opportunity to see that it's cool to be kind.
Right.
And it might be just something super simple, like you're going into your apartment building and the lady can't open the door because her hands are
Mhm.
so full that's your neighbor.
Right.
You hold the door open for her,
Well,
or you help her carry her
and
groceries in.
just how the magnitude of the snowball effect
Mhm.
from these types of things, especially if in your mind you are thinking that, like the Starbucks line,
Mhm.
back to that. Didn't you what you were telling me something about that where like it lasted for, I don't know, like 20 cars or
Oh, yeah.
something?
I think I was like
Where did
maybe
you
the 17th car or something
Yeah,
and
that's so
just kept
cool.
yeah, kept going. The
Yeah.
people behind it kept going. And it was like a Saturday morning or something. So it's
Mhm.
like everybody's like in a good place and nobody's really rushing
Well,
or
and I love
freaking
that
out.
they told you and that,
Yeah.
they pointed out that you were the 17th one because they probably helped to
Mhm.
keep that going. I did that once at McDonald's
So
because
the people behind you?
yeah, because just everybody does it a lot of the time. You always hear about Starbucks, but I was at McDonald's once and I thought, "Oh, I'm going to do that here
Mhm.
because it seems kind of not necessarily the place really that you hear about doing that." So,
I had this happen. It was a couple weeks ago, actually. I was at the grocery store and there was a woman there. She was with her kids. The kids were probably, teenagers, maybe early teens kind of a thing. Anyway, you could tell she was on a budget. She was paying very close attention to what I just was noticing this, had put in her basket and she had her little list and everything and her kids. Anyway, they get to the point where they're checking out and she was short and she was paying with cash because I think she was trying to really stick to
mhm.
whatever this budget was that
Yeah,
she was doing. And it's like if you looked at her basket, no judgment at all. There was nothing in there that was like exorbitant or,
right.
you
Just
know,
basics
just
like
basic,
necessities.
which
Yeah.
is so insanely expensive right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But she was short, like close, I don't know, it was right around the $5 or something.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, selfishly, probably in a little bit of a hurry.
Right.
But I was like, "I got you. It's good. Just enjoy your day." And she
Mhm.
was so happy and appreciative, that I had done that. And I didn't do that to be like this big martyr or anything. It was just more like you could tell she was stressed out.
Mhm.
You could tell the kids were kind of embarrassed that this was happening. And,
But
I
do you really, because I know the kind of person you are, so you're like, I got you. And because we're talking about this, you probably think about it or have thought about it a little bit more. But I can remember being that person. I literally would go to the grocery store with a calculator
really
and a list and a pencil. And yeah, because I couldn't spend more than a certain amount. So just knowing, and there's times where you're like guesstimating and, you try to make it fun for the kids, like, how much do you think it is?
Mhm.
And make it a game. Um, so everything seems normal. No, to just step in and take that load off of her in that
Mhm.
moment, and she'll remember that forever.
And I hope someday,
I'm sure she
whoever
will.
that woman is will,
Yes.
take kindness
Yeah.
on another person and help them out. I mean, I've
Mhm.
seen it with, like, bus fare,
Yeah.
like, when I was riding the bus back in the day when I would be driving downtown or going downtown or whatever, and people would be short on their bus fare or
Yeah.
whatever, it's not that big of a deal to do something like that for people if you have the means to do
Right.
it.
Right.
Let me ask you this question because we were talking about this, yesterday about our families. And how is it with your family? Because I'm thinking about like my mom. Uh, would they be happy or would they be proud of you for helping other people that are outside of your family?
Yes. Absolutely.
So if your family was in need of help, but you're helping other people, would they?
Well, that's different. That's a whole different concept.
Yeah,
Um, if there's need within the family that's known, of course you're going to help family first.
right.
If that need is known and you
Hmm.
have the ability to do it. But if you're just helping somebody outside, if I was helping somebody with a bill or something outside of my family, one, I don't know really how they would know, but
Right. Well,
but
I would never really mention
yeah,
anything
yeah.
at all because I and I ask this because I think it would be I the joke about Julie's so generous.
Generous Julie.
Generous Julie. And it's not intended to be a a really positive thing. I think when it said that Julie's so generous, it's more that I'm forgetful or
I
that
was
I'm
just going to say that
yeah,
because I just thought of two instances.
where I was forgetful.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Well, like when you went to Arizona. You went to Arizona and you left your sunglasses and something else you were telling me. And I was like, did you call? And you're like, I just got new ones. Whatever it was. So somebody else got new
somebody
sunglasses,
else
and
I paid it forward for
because
someone in
that's generous,
Arizona.
Julie.
Or I left my mom had come up with this story one time, and I'm just like, "Where does she even remember this stuff?" Like 15, 20 years ago, I left a platter at someone's house when we were at a family gathering, and so she kept it to see if I'd notice. That's the generous thing she's talking
Yeah.
about. But if I help other people, she thinks that's kind of odd, I think. She would rather that it
Interesting.
be helping my own family and
But
investing
you
my
do
energy.
that
I do
too.
that too,
You
yeah.
do that too.
So, anyway, just curious
Yeah.
how that would work. No, but your family always, and our
Hmm.
kids,
Yeah.
obviously we're gonna be in a position where if we can help them, financially or if we can help them emotionally or, with, childcare, you have all these
I'm starting
grandchildren,
to think of all these stories now
of me
in my
being
head.
forgetful
No, no, no.
because 'cause I'm gonna get a complex.
No, of just paying it forward and things that people have done for me.
Mhm.
I don't know what made me think of it, but when you were talking about riding the bus back in the day,
Yeah.
same thing. I used to take the bus to Nordstrom, and this one day I got off at the park and ride, and I had to walk back to my apartment, and it was absolutely pouring every single cat and
Oh,
dog in the world in that moment, and I didn't have an umbrella.
that's
Right?
because you're from here and people from here don't
I
use
know.
bumper
But as I was walking back to my apartment, this van stopped and it was a mom, and I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl, but she rolled down the window and she said, "Here, we have an extra umbrella.
Oh,
Yeah, take the umbrella."
I thought you were going to say that she told you to get in her car or
No.
something.
No, that would have been a hesitation. I don't know, but I probably would have, because she seemed pretty normal, Mill Creek mom.
Gotta wonder whether she thought you were normal enough to get into her car.
But yeah, so I was like, "Oh, no, no." They're like, "Really, we have another one. Just take it."
Oh,
So they
that's so
could tell I
nice.
would probably look like a drowned rat, and I'm all dressed up because I'm walking home from Nordstrom, But yeah, so they gave me an umbrella.
There's all
And
kinds of little
yeah,
things.
I just, yeah.
All kinds of little things
Just
that
little
are
things that you can do. Random acts of
Mhm.
kindness.
So do you think that people can take advantage of others
Oh,
who
yeah.
are
Mhm.
doing random acts of kindness?
I think probably. I can't. I've got nothing on the top of my head that
Well,
I can
there's an
think of.
assumption that that's just how they are, that they
Probably.
would do things for other people, but
Mhm.
I think that if
Isn't that kind of how Gen Z is now? They're taking like all
we
this
called you
kindness to
guys out. We called you guys out.
the entitlement piece. No,
Yeah.
I'm just just throwing that out there.
Well,
But
I think we have entitlement issues too, but they're just different.
yeah,
And we
true.
acknowledge them,
Yeah,
right?
true.
Okay. We've
Yeah,
earned them, we acknowledge them.
yeah,
Blonde or brunette, and
and
like
yeah. But
um
I do think that sure, kindness like that can definitely, I'm sure, be taken advantage of. But here's the caveat:
mhm,
if you're doing those random acts of kindness, you should be doing it because you want to do
correct.
that.
It's
It
coming
doesn't
from
matter
your heart.
what the other person
Yes.
does with the money you give them, if they pay it forward or they don't, whatever it is. The whole intent is, the reasons that you're doing it.
Mhm.
I just got goosebumps. Sorry. That's just, I mean, it's just like so
Has Michelle passed the guy with the sign coming off the exit on the freeway? So, those are the kinds of things where okay, where we live, obviously, let's just talk about the homeless population
Yeah.
for a second, is huge. We've got issues with that all over the place, and people on the corners
Mhm.
of, the exits and entrances to the on-ramps on the freeways, and, I mean, all over the place.
Yeah.
I've chosen at this point in my life I used to give
Me too.
money to people, but I've chosen now not to do that in the same I mean, maybe someone will, I don't know, catch my attention or what have you, but I don't know that that's definitely a beneficial thing. And I
Not doing that
I
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's definitely beneficial to give money.
Mhm.
And so here it goes back to you do things for the goodness of your own heart, not necessarily
Yeah.
for others. And I've seen where it's like people say, "Oh, I'm not giving them any money because they're just going to use it for drugs or they're going to use it for alcohol or whatever, they're going to use it for." And that's really not your business, I suppose,
Right.
what they do with it.
Yeah.
But that's what you kind of start hearing, for
Mhm.
people, myself included, quite honestly,
Yeah.
because I figure there's so many, especially here, so many resources for people that are available if they want them, and they can have food, they can get whatever they need from that
Mhm.
way. So that's how my logic works there.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about, a little kid who's lost in the department store, that random act of kindness for that parent is going to be getting that kid to a counter so they can call and ensure that they're safe and their parents can find them.
Yeah. Do you ever hear that Christmas song, The Christmas Shoes? That
Uh-uh.
song? Oh
Uh-uh.
gosh, really?
Uh-uh.
I cry every time I hear it. You know me.
Yeah.
But it's about this little boy who he, takes all the money that he has because he finds out that his mom is dying. It's Christmas Eve, and he runs to the store because he wants to buy his mom these pair of Christmas shoes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so he's standing in line, and, the guy behind him is like you were at the grocery store in a hurry. And the little boy is short money and
Get the shoes.
can't get the shoes. And of course, the man behind him steps in and, gives him the money. And I'm getting goosebumps because Because even just talking about it makes me emotional. Like,
Because you
seriously,
know this
I
kind of
guess,
stuff has happened,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, because those are, it's a song at Christmas time, but yeah, those are real life moments. Just
Mhm.
like, as much as that meant to that little boy in that song, I'm sure it meant that to that lady in the grocery store
Yeah.
with you. And, uh, you know, shortly after I was getting divorced, I was trying to move into an apartment. Here's another story that comes to mind. And I had a coworker of mine who knew my situation, and she knew I needed help with a deposit to get into this apartment. So I met up with her one night. She's like, "I have something for you." I didn't know at the time what that was or what she was doing. And she met up with me, and she gave me cash, and she to help with the deposit for this apartment. And she told me, she said, "The only thing that I want back from you is to do this again for somebody else who needs it at some point in the future." She didn't want the money back. She wanted me to, exactly what we're talking about, pay
Right.
it
Pay
forward,
forward.
which I did probably 10 years later. It was just a couple years ago.
Mhm.
A friend of mine, same situation, divorced. She was trying to move. And I called her, I text her. I'm like, "Hey, can you meet me? I just have something I need to give you." Same thing. Gave her the
Little
money.
guardian angel.
Same amount. Gave it to her, and I just said, "Same thing. I don't want you to pay me back, but I want you to do the same thing for
Mhm.
somebody else at some point."
That is so cool.
Yeah. So I mean, it works. It's, I think, the human nature of everybody to, have those heartfelt moments and
Mhm.
to really know the impact that those things can have on someone
Right.
or a family, you know, depending on their situation.
Well, I think what it boils down to is that we live in a very, very chaotic world.
Yeah.
And with that chaotic world comes a lot of suffering and a lot of people not necessarily communicating about what their needs are and just kind of living with things. And there's
Mhm.
small little things that any human being can do
Yeah.
to try to brighten the day of another person. Or I honestly feel like it's more about our own hearts being full sometimes than their other person's heart being full.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The doing those things are, just what you said. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's really about, I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like I walk away from that feeling
Yeah.
good, like
Yeah,
I
what you
was
get
able to
from that
do
yourself.
something
It's
for
good for
someone
the
else.
soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely good
And
for the soul.
there's plenty of that that can go around,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to cost anything.
Right.
It doesn't have to cost a ton of money for people to be able to show kindness to others.
Even taking time, I don't know, just this thought. There's a little house up around the corner who, at Christmas time, I just love the way their house looks, what they have on the windows. It's just so cute. And one day coming home from work, I decided to pull over
Oh.
because I always look at it, I'm like, I just love that house. I would go out of my way to go that way home so
Mhm.
that I could see that house. And yeah, I thought I need to tell them that, how cute it is. And thank you so much. And
'Cause I
I'm really
enjoy it.
enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When people put lights up or
Hmm.
when we lived in the, Mill Creek neighborhood, it's like we'd go for walks, every day, and there were a few homes that these people were just, like, so detailed with they were just loved gardening, obviously,
Oh,
and
yeah.
their home was so pretty, and you could tell they put a ton of effort into it. And I remember there was one that was on the corner not far from our house, maybe 6 or 7 homes down, and we were walking with a dog, and I was like, "I just wanted to tell you, it's like, I just love going by your home. It
Hmm.
looks so pretty. Your
Yeah.
flowers, everything just looks so pretty. It just looks like a really beautiful home." And
Yeah.
this woman's face was just like
Oh,
she totally was like she put so much energy into
yeah.
it that she was so excited that somebody noticed.
Yeah.
Didn't cost me anything. I
Hmm.
truly enjoyed seeing her
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
when we were on the walks, and, it was nice for her to kinda get that from someone else that she didn't even know. I didn't
Hmm.
even know her. So,
Yeah.
little things like that again. So, I think that brings a greater sense of connection and belonging,
Hmm.
in your community or wherever you're at,
Yeah.
when you feel like you could connect with another person on that fundamental level.
Yeah.
You know that there's a foundation, actually, a Pay It Forward
Really?
foundation. Mhm.
I didn't know that.
There is, and it's a national. We'll put it's just the website, Pay It Forward. I think it's .org, but we can put it up with the actual episode here. But I'll kind of go through exactly how it works. It's pretty simple. Person A, whoever that is, performs an act of kindness for person B. And then in turn, that person B actually does a random act of kindness or a paying it forward to 3 other people. And then those 3 other people do it to 3 other people. No, this is not an MLM. This is not multi-level marketing.
Do you remember that commercial back in the day that Farrah Fawcett used to do, Fabergé, and they told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on and so on.
And so on and so on. Yeah, it's the same. You're
That's
totally
funny.
dating yourself with the Farrah Fawcett commercial.
Yeah.
But it's exactly true.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be a ton of money. It can be a nice email to somebody. It can be a card saying, I'm just thinking about you. It could be anything. But I think it's kind of cool that there's actually a foundation that does that. And the idea of spreading that web, of kindness or these random acts, it makes sense when you're doing it to more than one person. Like if you were to do that with me, then I would think of 3 random acts for someone else. And it's putting a conscious thought or conscious effort into trying to make the world around you a little bit better. I know that sounds a little bit,
better and brighter, just sprinkling sunshine one person at a time.
There we go. That's what we're doing. So anyway, positive ripple effect.
And you could do that very intentionally. I knew you'd like that word.
That's my word.
Very intentionally you can do that because, like even when it comes to your kids, like if you do something that maybe you would normally do for them, it might be something that you do have to go out of your way to do, but you're going to do it for them. Again, back to because it's family. Maybe just start consciously thinking, I'm going to do this for you with one condition. I want you to do something similar for somebody else.
And I've never really approached things like that with them before.
Yeah.
I mean, we do stuff for our kids all the time, right?
That's what I mean.
But with me, it's like my way of showing love, which you already know, is baking. And of course, if I leave it here, then I'll eat it. So that kind of thing. But yesterday, I bought bananas earlier in the week purposely for the very reason that my kids love banana bread. I didn't tell them that's what I was doing, but I put a message out and just like making banana bread. And of course, Zoe's like, yay, I get one. And then I made them gluten-free because Andrew's girlfriend, Amelia, can't eat gluten. So it's like I purposely made one that would be specifically that she could eat.
Nice.
And she loved it, which made me so happy.
I have to ask, how do you do that?
What do you mean?
Gluten-free.
Just use gluten-free flour.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shows you how much I go out of my way to be health conscious that way.
Honestly, I just never really paid attention to it till she was in my life. And now I pay attention to it all the time.
My sister does gluten-free. That's why she does gluten-free stuff like crazy.
She doesn't feel good if she eats. I could eat it or not eat it. It doesn't matter. But anyway, she said, you'd never notice. So that's good. That means it turned out.
That's cool. That stuff like that. But so
why does nobody like chocolate as much as I do? Like I'm I gotta stop baking because it's just gonna slap right on my ass.
She does bake. Let me just say, Julie does bake, and even when she's not eating the stuff, because she's like, "Hey, I have cookies. Do you want some?" And I'm like, "No." And then I'll go upstairs. We have this
magic banana leaf.
We have this hallway, and there's this little table where we like put the mail or things that I have for Julie or that Julie has for me. And it's this tray.
Right now, there's martini glasses out there.
It's a banana leaf. So we call it the magic banana leaf and the MBL. Anyways, and even if I say no, I said
MBL to Isaac, her son, who lives, and he didn't know what I was talking about. So I think it's our
code
thing.
word for magic banana leaf.
Yeah.
But she'll put the cookies, she'll put the bread, she puts the stuff in there anyways. And of course it gets eaten. Yeah. So,
well, Isaac's a human garbage can. So I know that you probably won't eat it, but he will.
Yeah.
Usually. So anyway.
But even therein, so that's something for, lots of generation, giving something. I used to do that. I don't really have neighbors anymore that move in and out, but I would do that, bake something and bring it over and say, hi, welcome to the neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah. I got to get back to some of those basics.
Yeah. So do you think that this is something that applies in the same way, though, with people that you know Or is this just like the whole paying it forward? When you think of that, do you think of it being like to strangers, or do you think mostly of it being to people that you know?
I think it's a combination of
Yeah.
both. Absolutely. And, when you ask that question, it's making me think, and definitely a combination of both, because I think it is like, it has to do with the fabric of who you are
Mhm.
as to how you go about it or the kinds of things that you're doing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that the things that you're doing are not conditional.
Right.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
not conditional upon receiving something back, or
Hmm.
that you owe me
Yeah.
or anything like
I
that.
was telling Rick that we were
Your
discussing,
sweetheart.
yes, my sweetheart, that we were going to discuss this topic. And I just kind of asked him, same thing. I said, what do you think of when, pay it
Mhm.
forward? And exactly that. He's had opportunities, same, where you help somebody out and, hey, don't worry about paying me back. Just if you can at some point in the future, just help somebody else
Mhm.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. So let's talk about our audience and what they can do. They don't have to join the foundation, the Pay It Forward Foundation, but
No.
our challenge would be that if you're listening to this podcast, I'm looking over here now at the camera, uh, that you think of ways that you can pay it forward to the people that are around you,
Yeah.
and not ask for anything in return, but in turn say,
Yeah.
hey, just do something nice for someone else. And it's amazing how quickly things can
Like
monopolize.
they could ask,
No, how quickly things can, what's the word I'm looking for? Not monopolize. They can increase. God dang it, I can't remember the word. Anyway, how quickly things can get bigger. I mean, that was a great vocabulary.
um, and, something that our listeners can do is download the episode. They could download the
They can
episode,
pay it
and
forward
if
to
they
us.
really like it, they can tell their friends about it, and they can download the episode. Just think, and then that would get bigger.
They could share it with 3 friends
Yeah,
and
and
say
so
how
on.
much they appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just a little reminder there to wrap up,
Mhm.
to download the episode. And we would love to hear any stories that you might have, because these are definitely, it's a feel good topic, and something that we want to be able to share, not just our experiences like we have been in this episode, but we would love to hear some of the pay it forward stories that you all might have, so that we can, maybe read some of them.
That'd be great. Or that you've experienced, but also that uh, you have shared with other
Hmm.
people.
Yeah.
Things that have touched your heart,
Yeah.
really.
So you can find us out on all the socials as well. We're going to remind you about that. So like, share, and follow us on all the social medias.
Mhm.
And if you feel so inclined, drop us an email at a blonde, a brunette, and a mic at gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. So with
And
that, what else, Jules?
peace.
Out.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.